The Nintendo Wii had a lot of games, and I mean a ton. Believe it or not, there are over 1,500 games for the Wii. There are quite a few good titles for the system, but there's also a lot of junk. And because of this, a lot of games go unnoticed. Case in point, Fortune Street. I first came across this at a bargain bin at a discount store, and I must say, from the name I thought it was shovelware, but looking closely it has Mario and Dragon Quest characters, that got me pretty interested. The box makes it look like it might be a Mario Party clone or some type of crossover game, but it's a bit more complicated than that. It's a really awesome board game that's very beginner friendly with some pretty unique mechanics, and it even has a sequel coming out soon in Japan with Final Fantasy characters. So I feel like now is a pretty good time to talk about it. I really like to go into detail about what makes this game so awesome, and how it sets itself apart from similar games, and why even some people who don't really like most board games may still enjoy this. So that means we have a lot to cover, but if you're short on time or get bored of one section, don't worry, timestamps are in the description so you can skip to whatever section you're interested in. First off, this is actually the 10th game in the Itadaki Street series. The first was released on the Famicom in 1991, around 7 years before the first Mario Party game, and Fortune Street is the only game in that series to ever be released outside of Japan. While at first glance the game may look a bit like Mario Party, it's much more similar to Monopoly. In comparison, Mario Party, as much as I love it, is a much more casual experience. You don't get to make very many important choices during the game, and a lot of it comes down to luck. Sometimes you can even get a star on your first turn purely by luck. Sure, you can choose to pay to take a shortcut, but there are always fixed paths, and with the star moving every time it's picked up, you may end up going in the wrong direction. The minigames are by far my favorite part of the Mario Party franchise, but also they're the only consistent way to make money. So aside from pure luck, they're pretty much the most important thing in the game, as that you can use them to steal money or even stars. So how exactly does Fortune Street play? Well, since it's the first game available in the West, they were nice enough to include an easy mode, which is basically just a simplified rule set. We'll start with that. The game supports up to 4 players, and you can even share a Wiimote if you like and just pass it around. Next, you select your characters from a bunch of Mario and Dragon Quest characters. Be careful when you're setting up the computer player because you can't manually set the difficulty. They'll have a letter by their name which will tell you how strong they are. The game starts out much like Monopoly. Each person takes their turn, they move around the board, and they buy up whatever shops they land on. However, you can't simply just loop around the map and constantly pass go to collect $200. You have to collect suits that are scattered around the map. Once you have all 4 suits, you can return back to the start and level up. But unlike Monopoly, where you just get $200 each time, you can get extra money based on your current level and how many shops you own. By now you may have noticed that each character has 2 amounts of money by their name. The one on the left is your spending cash, which is used for buying properties or paying when you land on someone else's space, and the one on your right is your net worth, or simply how much total money you would have if you were to sell all your properties. In Monopoly, the main point is to buy as much property as possible, but here the game's about just reaching a net worth goal. And because the main goal is only about earning money, it actually offers quite a bit more flexibility in how you can play. For example, you can just simply buy a few small shops in high traffic areas and just make all your money that way, or heck, you could save all your money and only buy one shop and try to win the game that way. It's not a very effective strategy as it can hurt you late game, but it is technically possible. Now, much like both Mario Party and Monopoly, there are some RNG elements to keep the game interesting, and while Mario Party has some borderline instant lose options like give all your stars to Mario, this game has much more mild RNG options like here, have some free money, or roll a second dice. But there are some negative effects too, like all shops decrease in value for 1 turn, but by far the worst I've probably seen is a cart that just forces you out of one shop. It's pretty rare, and you at least get to pick which shop. We spent a lot of time explaining how this game compares to Mario Party and Monopoly. Now let's talk about where it stands out. First, the level of strategy it offers. If you land on your own space, you can choose to invest in your property. And while this may simply seem like a copy of the houses and hotels mechanic from Monopoly, the implementation is a bit more complex. First, you can invest in a single property. You don't need to own multiple in a row. And you can manually choose how much money you invest into each property, and that affects the shop's value and how much people pay if they land on it. And to keep you from simply throwing all your money at a given store, each store has a maximum capital you can invest. But that number can be increased if you own multiple shops in a row. And since this all comes out of spending cash, you have to carefully plan how much you want to invest to make sure you can buy any shops you may want, and so you can pay for any spaces you may land on before your next payday. But by far my favorite feature of this game is the counterplay. Does someone have a space you want? No need to ask nicely. If you have enough money, you can force them out. Sure, it costs 5 times the value of a shop, but if you have the cash, you can use this to break people's chains and decrease the value of surrounding shops. And if you're feeling extra mean, you can actually choose to invest in that shops later, making it harder for the original owner to buy them back. Now this game does have some mini-games, but unlike Mario Party, they're not a central focus. They're mainly just a way to score a little extra money on the side. I'd argue the main focus is planning for late game. Once all the shops are bought up and you have a few connected shops, you can start investing more heavily. And once you do, the rent for some of these spaces can go crazy high. The field can change from a Monopoly board to a minefield. And your choices get more intense. Do you really want to try to invest a lot of money when you could end up bankrupt in one turn? You really have to change up how you play. In the title of this video, I call this the Smash Bros of board games. And I don't simply mean it's just a crossover game. I feel this did exactly what Smash Bros did well. How many people do you know who play Smash Bros but will never touch another fighting game? How many people do you know who play brawlers or beat 'em ups but wouldn't play any other fighting games? I feel this part of Smash Bros success, from the casual market at least, comes from how it combines the accessibility of beat 'em up games with the versatility of fighting games. It does away with the complex button inputs in favor of a more simple 2 to 3 attack button format that most brawlers use, while still offering enough in-depth mechanics to allow for high-level play. And I feel that's exactly what Fortune Street does. It bridges the gap between your typical Mario Party style games and much more complex board games, allowing for a more strategic play that anyone can enjoy. The fact this game starts slow may sound kinda boring, but for new players it will actually give them time to learn the mechanics one by one in a low-risk environment. And for more advanced players, you got the standard rules, which will offer an even wider range of mechanics to play with, including stocks. You can buy stocks in specific areas of the board and get a cut of all sales made there. This opens a whole new level of strategy, but we're not going to cover that today. But in summary, I think Fortune Street is awesome. If you've been playing a lot of Mario Party and you want something with better actual board game mechanics, or if you just want a cool party game, this is really worth picking up. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I've been thinking about making this into a series covering some more awesome, lesser known games. So tell me what you think in the comments. And if you know any board game fans, just go ahead and send them this video. They might enjoy it too. Alright, well that's all I got for today, so I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.